Oh boy. So yeah, I am I'm having to record this some days later because man, I feel like I couldn't really articulate it the way I felt like I need to articulate this. And this is in regards to obviously Battlefield 6 and just the whole mouse moving thing because I'm telling you, I've had the hardest time trying to understand why the hell it just felt like I couldn't track anyone playing this game and why I would watch people and it looked like they shoot lasers and then I'll use the same gun and it's like it's bouncing all over the place and it just genuinely felt bad, like I had just lost all skill. And in coming from other FPS games, mind you, I'm like 5 years in, like 5 years in, 6 years actually. 2026, 2021 was 2021 was when I started. I'm 6 years in on mouse and keyboard since jumping on PC in 2020, and it's like I'm not the best, but man, like I spent a lot of time studying, doing aim training. I still do it here and there. I'm not the best, but man, I could control my aim. I started getting better at tracking to the right, and Battlefield had a way of kind of making me feel like none of that shit mattered, and it just got to the point where I started questioning, like, dude, am I just bad? I know I'm not great, but am I just bad? Like this, like I can't hack it anymore. And what ended up happening was, I had to realize I had to take the time to just kind of step back and kind of just let that feeling kind of sink in and sit with it. And once that happened, it kind of allowed me to go, okay, maybe it's my lack of understanding. Maybe it's my lack of not knowing. And I feel like that's kind of really important to do every now and again, because it's like, I think it's okay to have those kinds of questions. It's okay to have that kind of feeling. It always ends up being, what are you going to do once you hit it? Because I had a similar feeling when I was playing games like Tekken. My friends would beat my ass and I thought I was nice. I thought I knew stuff, and they just proceeded to just demolish me. And it was frustrating to the point where it's like, I just got tired of losing. And so I was like, I had to just admit to myself, I am not good at this game. I am not good at this game. So I ended up going back and learning, and now it's like I can run with the best of them. I can run with the best of them as far as that goes. But I digress back to the original point. I ended up having to really dissect and understand for myself what these settings did and what their function was. And the original process that I had when it came to these things, I'm just gonna wait for someone to put out the video and then go from there. And it worked for a little bit. Like, it works for a little bit and it worked for certain things, but I think I reached a point where doing that all the time just wasn't it. And I just kind of had to change and evolve as a person and understand that at some point I have to come up with my own answers. There's nothing wrong with seeking help. There's nothing wrong with seeking guidance. But ultimately, it's you that still has to make that choice whether you listen or not. And it's you that still has to end up using it. And something I notice when it comes to people when they do that is they're quick to blame the source. And trust me, once I was able to figure out what the hell I was doing, that I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to blame the source. And it's like, oh, these people, these TikTokers, these content creators, these other content creators, they're not really understanding and taking the time to understand what they're saying before they say it. That was my approach, but I had to step back, and I realized that no one put a gun to my head and tell me that I should listen to this. That was my process for improving and trying to figure out the game, as opposed to taking my time reading, figuring out, because I played Battlefield since Battlefield 3, but at that time I was on controller, and controller, by the way, just never felt natural to me. So getting on mouse and keyboard always felt like it just felt really good. So that's what I stuck with. And, once again, it became a thing where it's like I had to step back and look at and understand what it was for what it is. It's not the content creator's fault to do something that they suggested to do that most likely worked for them. And come to find out, I ended up not only finding out what worked for me, making the adjustments on the things that worked for me and executing on those, I ended up finding out essentially why what worked for them worked, which was the funny part. And granted, if I would have maybe made a few adjustments while also doing what they said to do, I probably still would have been okay, But what I found now essentially the bottom line and the resolution for all this was the fact that I'm really particular about what I'm using, how I'm using it. I mean, I went from using glass mouse pad back to cloth mouse pad, knowing I didn't really like the way cloth felt on my skin and just the transition of movement. I usually use a sleeve when I play too, and the cloth mouse pad, I guess, I don't know, they don't really work well with sleeves in my opinion, you know, and maybe it's just because of the certain cloth that I had, but I just love that slick non-resistance feeling that I get for wearing the cloth playing on a glass mouse pad. And it's just, I changed so many things just to get here and finally realized that it was just like, it was really just a me thing, you know, it was really just a me thing. And it just, I mean, dude, it feels like for the first time since the game came out, I can actually play the game. The game's been out since last October, and only now that it feels like I can actually play the game. When I made the adjustments, I think first day after I made the adjustments, dude, I dropped like a 15 kill game, easy. And I mean, and it felt so good and it felt so responsive to finally actually have that control. I almost cried. I was about to shed a tear. Not even gonna lie, I was about to shed a tear to just not feel like I was being held back anymore. Because I just genuinely, I really like the game. I do understand it has a lot of things it still has to fix. Maybe the amount of players that are playing the game still isn't in the greatest of spots, but my personal experience just feels, dude, it's like I feel like I can actually play, you know, like I feel like I'm actually getting my time and my money's worth out of it. It's not more of a settings thing, it's more of, I think, a mindset thing. I recommend, like, if you're ever having that kind of frustration, be okay with being frustrated, but then start figuring out why. Start figuring out, and before you start blaming the game, before you start blaming this, before you start doing that, see if there's anything that you could have done maybe to resolve the situation for yourself. And you'd be surprised how much you can do. There's so many things out of your control, but you can control your actions. You can control how you view something and how you think about something, which, you know, that's a lot more, I feel like that's a lot more powerful, because that means no matter what the situation is, you're always going to have that agency over yourself, you know? I think that's honestly worth more than anything.